get the space out there in the, well, what used to be the Twitter sphere, the X sphere, or X space, as I guess we're supposed to call it now, so others can join in or listen to the recorded space later. As always, if free is too cheap for you, even in this economy, many hosts and co-hosts also have a tip jar, little cash icon at the top of their profile, where you can drop your loose change or stack of Benjamins if you're independently wealthy via Cash App or Venmo. There's also a link to my Teespring store on my profile where you can find some fun items. And be sure to hit up Town Square co-host Real Jeff Platt to get your copy of the Punchbowl cookbook for just $2 of those crumpled dollars you found in the laundry. We also have a nice bingo card in Jeff's store for a Punchbowl that you can fill out as you're listening to Town Square. And as you hear the phrases, you can fill out your bingo card. And if you get bingo, you can unmute yourself and cry out, bingo! I'm sure that's a lot of fun. That's also available for just $2 in Jeff's store. Lastly, our weekly housekeeping. Make sure if you're going to dig or apply any fertilizers or pesticides, you follow all of the directions on the labeling and in accordance with federal, state, and local laws. CYA? Check. Each episode will run about an hour or so, mostly in presentation format for the first 30 minutes, but then we will open it up to questions and comments and open it up to our new segment called Gardener's Community. That started last week, and we will continue that going forward. This is your chance to bring other questions, ideas, or to share with the audience what successes or failures you may be experiencing in your garden this season. And finally, we end the night with arguably the best part of the show, trivia. And my co-host is requesting, so something happened there. Let's bring him back. Let me wrap up this intro. Just to be the first to raise your hand after the full question is asked during trivia and give the right answer or the funniest, most ridiculous answer of the night. That's how we have fun. That's how you win. Nothing in the nest without approval, no locked or questionable accounts as speakers, and we will not be entertaining any breaking news, although I know there is some tonight, unless someone or something is in imminent danger. Okay, are you ready? Let's turn those thumbs green. So tonight we're doing the ABCs of Plants Installment 1, the letter A. As you can imagine, it would take us several weeks, if not longer, to get through all of the A's of the plant world. So tonight I'm just going to highlight just a few in each category, which will be viewable up in the nest. That's that spot right above you. You can see some photos in there. Take a peek at those. And we're going to start with the category that starts with the letter A, and that's annuals. So first up, and this photo does not appear in the nest. Many of you may be familiar with it. What I'm trying to do with photos going forward is use all of the photos that I have taken over the past few years. That way I don't have any liability issues. And I didn't have a good picture of Argyratum, but Ageratum, that's how you spell it. I'm sure a quick Google search or another search engine, you can get a picture of Argyratum if you're not familiar with it. Argyratum houstonianum, I'm guessing someone from Houston probably came up with this one, also called floss flower, is a tender annual with clusters of fuzzy button-like flowers that typically come in tones of blue and purple, but you can find some varieties in pink or white. They flower late May, early June through early October and attract bees and butterflies. Most varieties will grow 6 to 8 inches tall with a spread of 8 to 12 inches wide with an upright semi-mounding habit. There are varieties, however, that will grow a couple of feet tall, so choose wisely depending upon how you are going to use them. Argyratum likes full sun to part shade and pairs well with things like petunias, marigolds, or wax begonias after the danger of frost has passed. This one likes it a little warm, so don't go out too early with that. Next up, and this one actually has 3 photos up in the nest of different colors, Angelonia. And listen carefully, because there might be a trivia question hidden in this one. Angelonia angustifolia, also called summer snapdragon. Angelonia is a heat-loving mounding annual that grows 12 to 18 inches tall and 12 to 14 inches wide, with lanceolate glossy foliage on upright stems that bear several flowers in white, purple, pink, or purplish blue in late June through September. Foliage and flowers are aromatic and they attract birds, bees, and butterflies. Angelonia likes full sun and pairs well with other summer annuals like Gomphrena, Annual vinca, and Lysianthus. I purposely picked companions that also come in pinks and purple and white, but these would also do fine alongside more fiery colors like you'll find in zinnia, lantana, or marigolds. Angelonia makes an excellent cut flower as well. And finally, in the annuals category, we have Argyranthemum. Pirates love this one. Argyranthemum frutescens, also called Marguerite daisy, is an upright plant that grows 18 to 36 inches tall and 12 to 20 inches wide, flowering May through September. Argyranthemum is grown as an annual in most locations, but grown as a perennial in the Canary Islands. Argyranthemums come in white, pink, yellow, and apricot shades, like full sun to part shade, and go well with things like salvia, petunias, and verbena. Next, we move to perennials, and I'm going to pick up the pace a little, although I think I was already talking fast enough, so maybe I don't need to. Starting with Ajuga. Ajuga reptans, also called bugleweed, zone 4 to 9. Ajuga comes in a few foliage variations like burgundy glow, with foliage of green, white, burgundy, and pink. Chocolate chip, which has smaller, slender bronze leaves. Bronze beauty, which is a brown bronze, larger leaf variety. And lastly, and this one is up in the nest in a photo, black scallop, which has deep purple, near black glossy foliage and bears purplish blue flower spires May through June. Black scallop grows 4 to 6 inches tall and 12 to 18 inches wide. As we've discussed in previous episodes, and our friend Gen X was quick to point this out, Ajuga is an aggressive ground cover, some may even say invasive, that will adapt to both sun and shade and spreads by above ground offsets, much like a spider plant or a strawberry plant. Bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds all love Ajuga. Next, we have Aquilegia. You can find that in some of the hybrid varieties, Aquilegia X hybrida, or there's the old-fashioned Aquilegia, Aquilegia canadensis. Those are zone 3 through 9, and also called columbine. So if anyone talks about their columbine, they're talking about Aquilegia. It's an early season perennial that grows 9 to 12 inches tall and 9 to 12 inches wide, prefers full sun to part shade, and typically flowers in May through June. There's a couple of pictures up there, up top of these as well. Aquilegia is available in blue, purple, pink, red, yellow, white, and a few bicolor variations that incorporate one of the other colors with either yellow or white. So I wasn't going to list them all, but you get the picture. Pink, white, pink, yellow, red, white, red, yellow. Bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds all like Aquilegia, and they make good cut flowers as well. So you're getting a little info on some cut flowers you can be growing in the yard tonight as well. And next up, one of my favorites, especially this time of year, they are coming into bloom, Asclepias, named for Asclepios, Greek god of medicine. Asclepias tuberosa is butterfly weed, a zone 3 to 9 New England native with orange or yellow flowers June through August, growing 18 to 24 inches tall with a 12 to 24 inch spread. Also in the Asclepias genus, we have Asclepias incarnata, swamp milkweed, a zone 3 to 6 perennial growing 3 to 5 feet tall with a spread of 2 to 3 feet bearing clusters of pink flowers June through September. And rounding out the Asclepias, we have Asclepias syriaca. That's common milkweed, a zone 3 to 9 perennial with a wide native habitat of southern Canada and the United States east of the Rocky Mountains. Milkweed grows 2 to 3 feet tall and bears clusters of dusty rose pinkish flowers. All of the Asclepias love full sun and attract bees, birds, hummingbirds, and of course, butterflies. Side note, it is a primary food source for monarch butterfly larvae. I believe they do prefer the tuberosa, but that is worth researching if you are specifically trying to keep your monarchs happy. Other perennials to consider, because like I said, it would be impossible for us to go through everything tonight, but other perennials would include Achillea. There's a photo in the nest of that one. Aconitum, Actea, Agastache, Alchemilla, Amsonia, Anemone, Arabis, Arenaria. That one's also in the nest. Armeria, Artemisia, Aruncus, Asarum, Abrietta, and Aurinia. So those are your A's, and I'm sure there's more in the perennials. And in tropicals, we have Acmea. And I want to make sure I pronounce this right, or this will be a never-ending joke. Acmea diclimadia. Yes, if you say that wrong, it could have ended badly. Del Mar is the variety that is up there in the nest. Yes, Webb.
Chlamydia is not a flower, Kevin.
I know, Webb, but if you could see the spelling, one might naturally say diclamidia, Acmea diclamidia. And I just wanted to make sure that I did not say that. And I still didn't say it. We're moving on. Del Mar is the variety I have up in the nest there. There are others. So if you've ever seen the big bromeliads with the silvery gray leaves, looks like a big vase with a big pink flower that gets little, it's like a pinkish, almost like a cone that gets little purple flowers that comes out of it. That's Acmea fasciata. Both of them are just two of the very popular Acmea bromeliads. Since it's a bromeliad, it's also related to pineapple, Spanish moss, and air plants. Those are all bromeliads. It's a whole family. We'll get to other bromeliads when we get to other letters of the alphabet. It's a wonderful house plant with a long-lasting flower spike. It likes bright, filtered light, high humidity, moist soil, and water inside the rosette of leaves that holds the flower spike. It's almost like it acts as a vase. So you want the soil to be moist, but you also want to pour water into that center. You don't want to do that with a lot of foliage plants, or you're just going to rot out the center of your plant. But with bromeliads, it is something that you do. Their long, thick leaves have toothed edges, so watch out so you don't get scratched when getting up close to water them. We have two more in the tropicals category. The next up, and as you've probably seen by now, these three tropicals are all in one photo up in the nest above you. Alocasia amazonica polly, or African mask plant, is a relative of the elephant ear with dark gray, almost black, leaves with a green midrib and silvery veins. Alocasia likes bright, indirect light and lightly moist soil. Plants will grow up to 24 inches tall and 10 inches wide. And wrapping up tropicals, we have Asplenium. This is a genus of ferns called spleenworts with about 700 species. Perhaps two of the most popular species being Antiquum or Nidus, two types that are called bird's nest ferns. As houseplants, you will typically see these in pots ranging from 4-inch to 8-inch and growing up to 12 inches tall. But in warmer climates, these Asplenium can grow 3 to 5 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide, preferring bright and indirect light, rich, moist, acidic soil. And since I thought this was going to go so much slower, we only have 2 trees tonight. The first, you may know it as a brand of laptop computers, but arborists just call them maples, and that is Acer. Some popular Acer or maple species you may be familiar with. Japanese maples, we have Acer japonicum, which is full moon Japanese maple. That's a zone 5 tree that gets 8 to 10 feet high and is very slow growing. And then you have the regular, quote unquote, regular Japanese maples, Acer palmatum, also a zone 5, which ranges anywhere from as short as 2 to 3 feet to as tall as 20 to 22 feet, and everywhere in between, depending upon the variety. And the really lacy leaf varieties are just a different type of Acer palmatum called Acer palmatum variety dissectum, or weeping Japanese maples, which typically max out somewhere between 6 and 15 feet, depending upon variety. Some more maples. Acer rubrum is the swamp maple or red maple, hardy to zone 3. It grows 40 to 60 feet tall with leaves that turn fiery bright red in the fall. And Acer saccharum, which is sugar maple, hardy to zone 4 and growing as tall as 80 feet. This is the maple commonly associated with maple syrup production, though other species will bear sap for this purpose. We had, when I was living in southern Massachusetts, the whole neighborhood had rock maples or silver maples. Uh, it would it's hard to describe the leaf. It would almost look like a Japanese maple leaf, but very, very deliberate cuts in the leaf, very tall trees, and the bark. Um, well, let's just say as a kid, it was very tempting to peel it because the bark would stick out in strips. But that was one that, believe it or not, my father got a tap and actually tapped those maples in our yard way back in the day and actually made maple syrup from those. So you don't have to use the sugar maple. Um, Sugar maples probably produce the most sap, and that's probably why they're more common. But depending upon how big your maple is, you may still be able to get syrup from it. And the sugar maple is the one whose leaf most, excuse me, whose leaf most closely resembles the leaf depicted on the Canadian flag. So that, you'd think it's a red maple because the leaf is red, but the leaves of the red maple are more three-pointed, although they kind of have some other edges. Your sugar maple, there's another species, Norway maple. That's kind of like that traditional big maple leaf, and that you see on the Canadian flag. And our final A plant of the night. Well, this is working out time wise. We're a little early because I'm talking a little fast, but we're rolling right along. Our final A plant of the night is ABs, or fir trees, not rabies. Take the R off. ABs. Those are fir trees. These include trees like Abies balsamea, balsam fir, zone 3, Abies balsamifera, which I learned as balsam fir years ago, but it is listed as Pacific silver fir, at least according to the research I did. Abies concolor, which is white fir, zone 4, and what may be your favorite Christmas tree or not, Abies fraseri, or Fraser fir. Those are known for its tight pyramidal shape, stiff needles, and great needle retention when cut. There's always a little debate in the greens industry. Do you like balsam or do you like Fraser? And balsam definitely has more of that Christmassy smell. Some people like it. It's greener and it's more of a flat appearance. But I prefer the Fraser just because it's a little more dimensional, nice tight needles, and when you cut the Fraser fir, like I said, those will. If you get a Fraser fir wreath or a Fraser fir Christmas tree, I think you will be amazed at how much cleaner those are versus the balsam. But to each their own. I don't want any balsam fir tree people sending me nasty emails. So you get the tree that best suits you. Most of these AB's fir trees will grow in the 30 to 50 foot plus range for height and 20 to 30 foot range for spread. So again, we probably could have fit a couple of more in there, but this actually worked out well because we are trying to rein this in a little bit and keep the shows to an hour, just because sometimes we go off the rails and they go 2.5, and people got work in the morning and all that, including me. So this would be a good time to open it up. If you need a microphone, got a question, got a comment on the A's, just send your mic request in. Mr. Webmeister in Control Room 2 will handle those requests, and we will get you up here. And then we will start Gardener's Community. That is our new segment that we do between the presentation and the trivia, where you can share what's going on in your garden. So with that, any questions, comments, concerns? I don't see any hands. Anyone? Anyone at all? Jen, save the day here. Ask a question or make a comment. Go ahead. You do you.
All right, so I am doing strawberry beds. I pulled up the soil, and you know what? I haven't read preen. Is there anything about preen to keep the grass seeds from starting where I shouldn't have them with edibles? Because I really haven't read the backside of the preen, warnings or anything like that. Does it say not with edibles? Is it only for ornamentals, or can I use that as seed suppression?
I do not know. Perhaps Dog does, unless he's raising his hand for something else. But I would always recommend, as I state at the beginning of every show, read all your labeling. And I will never give recommendations that go off of that labeling. So, with that, Dog.
Well, I'm not sure I'd read the label like he suggested, but preen is a pre-emergent, so inhibits germination. I don't think it would be harmful to any edibles. Well, I'll check the label.
You guys are going to make me have to read. Dang it. Alrighty. I was just hoping
Well,
I
that
had.
way, if you poison yourself, it's on you.
Don't you like that? He comes up here and says, "Well, I wouldn't read the label like he said," and then at the end, "But you should read the label."
And I also have to say, abamectin is death. So I was looking at my neighbor's boxwoods, and I'm like, haha, earlier this year. I'm like, haha, look at how infested yours are. And I'm like, and I was looking at mine and about how pristine and insect free they are. And of course, I didn't do any treatments for them all summer, and they just got hit and now are loaded with leaf miner. So I went and got my backpack, just mixed up some abamectin, and nuked them, and it feels good.
Nice.
By the way, if you guys don't know what abamectin is, it is a very potent insecticide. It's not a typical like pyrethroid. It's actually like a GABA inhibitor. It kills mites. It kills pretty much everything. Great for Japanese beetles too. Like
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dog, but I believe that is actually naturally derived.
yeah, it's actually like very similar to ivermectin, which everybody has learned about since COVID. It's related to that by a few molecule difference. But yes, it's I think derived from a natural fungus in the soil. But I would also advise use it with caution because it is very potent and hazardous to your health. And read all label instructions. But if you want to nuke insects, that stuff works. And it works for mites too, which are notoriously difficult to kill. But not for edibles. Do not use that for edibles. It is translaminar, so it gets absorbed into the plant leaf tissue. And so if you put it on edibles, you will be ingesting that, which you don't want to do.
Well, that sounds like your answer right there, Jen, because you don't want to be in close proximity of your vegetables. Anyone else? We're starting trivia soon, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of microphones in this audience. So get with it, people. You want a chance for bragging rights. I don't want to, right now it's going to be like 5 of us. And I already know the answers. So that's not going to help. Well, with that, I'm going to go to Webb. Webb, any luck on your cilantro or your scallions this week?
No. They look pathetic. They're maybe a half an inch above the soil, and it's been that way for a week. They're still green, but they're not moving.
Well, green is good. Green is good.
I figure as long as they didn't turn brown or still alive, right?
Yes, that is true. So, yes, green is good. They won't necessarily grow at the speed you want them to, but we've already established that you're very impatient when it comes to your seeds. Otherwise, you'd be growing celery from seed and not from the old stalks. Although your celery from the old stalks are one of them is doing amazing. I've seen photos. So,
Oh yeah, I'll put that one in the bubble.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies. Jan, Max, I see you there. I'm, oddly enough, trimming a maple tree surrounded by aspens, which is all par for the course for you guys, I believe. And especially tonight. Glad to be part of the crew. Thank you for letting me talk.
thank you, Donald. Greetings from the United States.
Canada loves you. Not nearly as much as Elon. Typo. Not nearly as much as Elon loves Canada, apparently. Funny shit. Glad to be representing. Love you guys.
Canada in the house.
In the
Go ahead,
house.
dog.
In the hizzy. I'll be going over to the greenhouse later on, prune and check on my special plants that only I know how to grow, apparently. No, just kidding. Over in the greenhouse later.
Yeah, we won't get into those, even though you are in a totally different country right now. So that's okay. I think we all know what you meant there, Donald. We're going to go to Dog and then Annie. And if you guys talk long enough, I can get some photos from the garden up into the nest.
Okay, what I was going to say was real quick. That's unfortunate. But Donald, go check the purple pill. I think you misread Elon's shirt.
All I could see is I love Canada. I don't know what anybody else saw.
Well, hi, everybody.
That's my story, and I'm
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good, Annie. Go for it.
Good evening, fellow gardeners. How are you? Um, I just want to tell you what a beautiful day it was here in Southwest Pennsylvania. It was a cool, awesome day. Got out, did lots of gardening today. I noticed my dill is not doing so well. We had a lot of rain over the past couple days. My dill is suffering, guys. My cucumbers are like null and void. My peppers are doing really good. The green beans are still doing well. Tomatoes are coming in fast and furious, um, especially my Roma tomatoes. I have these beautiful Roma and San Marzanos that are doing really well. Um, let's see. Corn is doing well. Corn's doing really, really well. It's about 8 feet high, 8, 9 feet high. Um, Squash is doing really well. I have like 3 different varieties of squash. So I've been making squash everything, squash bread, zucchini bread. My cats like zucchini. If I shred it and cook it down, they like it. My dogs like it. So we're all eating zucchini. I don't know. But I hope you're all doing well. And it's so good to hear you all.
That's awesome.
Mr. Webmeister. Sorry
Yeah,
for the delay.
this is actually Annie mentioned her tomatoes, and I had a lesson learned from our gardening community that hopefully someone else can learn from. Can you explain the difference between determinate and indeterminate?
Yes. So your indeterminate tomatoes, and be careful because depending upon how people pronounce it, you'd think there's an extra N in there, but it's indeterminate and determinate. Indeterminate basically will just keep growing. They're more vining tomatoes and they will keep growing until the frost. So, indeterminate varieties will get anywhere from 6 to 12 plus feet tall. They're things like Sweet 100 cherries, sun sugar cherries. There are some larger ones that will do that as well. And then your determinate tomatoes. Sorry, Donald, I had to mute you.
Yeah,
Um, just temporarily, just till I'm done. Determinate tomatoes will are considered bush tomatoes. They'll get up to a certain height. They'll put all of their fruit or most of their fruit out at one time. Those will ripen. You'll pick them, and then your plant's done. There's some that are considered semi-determinate, which means that they're still bushy and won't get real tall, but they'll keep throwing out a few extra tomatoes along the way. So I mean, it's all in what you prefer. A lot of the sauce tomatoes that I do are determinate. There's no way around it. And judging by what the deer has done to them, I don't know how that harvest is going to be. But I prefer the indeterminate because to me, it's just get as many as you can while you can, especially up here in the Northeast with the shortened season. So that is indeterminate versus determinate. Uh, just side note, few more photos up in the nest from what I've been up to lately. I know Webmeister has seen these in other chats, but I picked my first zucchini of the year. And then I got another photo of some spaghetti squash. That is actually from last year. So probably the latest those were picked was the 3rd week of August last year. They're not hollow and dry. They're not soft. So those ones held up really well. But I did tell the missus we got to eat those soon or they probably will expire or dry out. Then they're just going to, sound like maracas with the seeds in them. Also picked most of the carrots I had growing in pots. And then I got a shot of a cucumber that's growing up the fence. If you happen to go to the other photo, you will see those cucumbers. In earlier episodes, you saw them when they were first planted, and then a little further. Now they are attached to that fencing around that enclosed area. And in the foreground of that photo, those shorter ones, those are the zucchini plants from which I picked that first zucchini. And then there's a few other photos of The tomatoes, this is actually a good place to show you determinate versus indeterminate. So if you go up to one of the last ones posted in the nest, if you look in that enclosure that's got the aluminum, that ridged aluminum siding, you'll see some very tall tomato plants where most of the foliage is on top. Those are Sweet 100 and either Sun Sugar or Sun Gold. And those are all indeterminate. That's why they're just growing and growing and got as tall as they did. Where if you look what is encircling that other area with the blue mat underneath, you'll see some shorter tomatoes in the background. I believe those are Early Girl or Jet Star. Whichever they are, those are determinate. Those have gotten to about 4 feet tall. They've put out their fruit. Eventually, those will ripen, and those will be done. And then lastly, there's another shot in there. You can see in the kind of main garden, in the middle, I've got peppers on either side. I've got a blueberry bush. Probably can't tell even if you zoom in, but that's where the asparagus that I planted live this year. I won't harvest any of those this year. Those will get harvested next year. And then on both sides and the back of that garden is all squash, winter squash. So we'll see if I can keep those happy. In the foreground of this photo, you'll see a couple of square pots and a couple of round pots. Or you see one round pot in between the two eggplant and 3 square pots. Those are actually seeded with lettuce because up here, although you never know, that the weather can do things. But right now it's cooling down, and it should, even if it warms up for a little bit, it should trend that way, which is what lettuce loves. Lettuce will actually take a light frost. So with cucumbers coming on, tomatoes coming on, if these lettuce do what they're supposed to do, I also did the gutters and window boxes around that enclosure, I may actually get my complete salad. That is a goal for me every year. If I can time it so that I get the lettuce, the tomatoes, and the cucumbers all to come in at the same time, then I can make a salad without anything from the store. A lot of times, like earlier this year, I had a ton of lettuce, but no cucumbers and no tomatoes yet. So the lettuce was good on sandwiches, but had to get my tomatoes and cucumbers elsewhere. But with this second batch of lettuce, I might get that complete salad after all. We got more microphones going out in this room because we're ready to start trivia, and we don't have a whole lot of participants yet.
I'll do what I can. I'm amazing with useless knowledge, but I'm cheering for your coup de grace, so to speak. I know, cheesy pun, but you forgot your onions on that sandwich, by the way. Always eat your onions.
I do like onions. I did not grow any onions this year. I bought some seed for some bunching onions, probably very similar to Webb's scallions, but I didn't seed them. And I thought those were typically faster, especially since you're not trying to form a bulb. But I believe the seed packet said something like 110 days. So I don't even think at this point I'm going to try it. But with that, we're at that mark where we should start trivia. And we went through the first portion a little bit quickly tonight. Like I said, probably could have fit in just a little bit more, but we are on track to make this a 1-hour show tonight, and that is good. So I do see, other than myself, and Webmeister knows there's at least one question that may involve him. So when he hears it, he'll know not to try to answer. But I do see 5 other microphones, so I'm going to get started soon. You better send those mic requests. Go ahead, Webb.
I'm just working out my hand.
Well, normally you're up against like a full stage, so I don't think you got to practice too hard. But that said, are you practicing too, Donald?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, Donald, I'm going to run over this one more time because I think you came into the room late. You were late to the punctuality meeting again. When we do the trivia, I will ask the question, wait until the full question is asked. I will say go, and then you want to be the first one to raise your hand and either get it right or have the most ridiculous answer that won't get us thrown off of this platform, and just have fun with it. Got it?
Affirmative, sir. I will try my best to keep within the parameters of Twitter. Or, sorry, X, or whatever they are this week.
This week we are X. And I am glad to say, for the first time that I'm aware of, this is the first trivia from the Nelson Gardens Garden and Homecast that will have international participants. So, Donald, I ask that you make Canada proud tonight. So, question 1 from episode 19. Name the one perennial that begins with A, whose photo appears in the nest above that I did not speak about or even list tonight. Go.
Did I mention that I was late for the whole series on gardening and stuff? Did I mention that? I don't know if
You did, and I noticed. We're going to go to Annie and then Dog. Annie?
Would that be annual?
No. Dog.
I have no idea about Esther.
Aster is correct. Aster is the one that is in the
I,
nest above
I'm
you.
shocked. That was a guess.
You know, between the ones that you know and the ones you guess, I smell another victory already, but we'll see. We're only on question 1, but yes, Aster is the one. There's a photo of it up in the nest, but I purposely did not mention it, and I didn't list it when I listed the perennials. So, Aster
it's
is
a trick question. Trick question.
all right. Settle down. We are going to question number 2, episode 1. What are the 2 types of nitrogen that were discussed? Go. Dog again.
Guessing again. Slow release and immediate release.
No, I will not accept that. It's the think of the molecular form of nitrogen. There's 2 main types were discussed that night. Donald.
Manufactured and natural? Is that a thing?
It is a thing, but it's not the right thing. Annie.
Would it be organic and synthetic?
No, it would not be.
Darn.
All right, we got one more try for Dog, and then I'm going to have to give you the answer. Go ahead, Dog.
Urea and ammonia. Ammonium.
I gotta give you partial credit. The correct terminology that was used for episode 1 for NO3 and NH4 plus was nitrate and ammoniacal nitrogen. So we were probably saying similar things. I was looking for nitrate and ammoniacal. Question 3, if I was to say the following phrase, listen carefully. Plants that start with A, you heard about them today. That was the topic. What form of poetry would that be considered? Donald?
A haiku.
Haiku is correct for number 3.
Hooray!
Question 4, a repeat question from last week. Remember, if you guys don't get these, they will return to haunt you. A repeat question from last week. What is the scientific name for annual vinca? Go. Annie.
Melissa?
We love Melissa, but no. Donald.
Dandelion.
No. Any other guesses? Annual Vinca. Ultra.
Is it Karen?
It is not Karen.
Oh, okay.
All right,
That was
Dog.
a good guess.
Dog, you got one. Yeah, well, we'll go to Dog, then Webmeister, and then we will divulge.
I was going to say Karen, and I want to speak with the manager.
Although, Karen did come up in an episode too. Anyways, Web.
Catharanthus roseus.
Somebody Googled that. I guarantee.
It-
Oh, Web. It's lucky I love you, buddy. All right, question 5 per episode 19. And Webb was correct. It was Catharanthus roseus is your annual vinca. Question 5 per episode 19. Oh, we're in episode 19 now. Where is Marguerite Daisy grown as a perennial? I mentioned it not long ago. Go, Donald.
Something from section 5, like a green some 5 in the 5.
No, I'm looking for a specific, this isn't a hardiness zone. This is a specific geographical location that was mentioned. Marguerite daisies are grown as an annual, except in this place, they're grown as a perennial. Webmeister.
Dang, I missed the except. I was going to say everywhere.
No, Dog.
Well, I'm sure they don't grow in Antarctica, so I'm going to go to Antarctica.
No, because we want the location where they do grow as a perennial. Annie.
Would that be the tropical area?
It is tropical. I was looking for the Canary Islands. Canary Islands is where Marguerite Daisy grows as a perennial. So close. Question 6 per episode 19 again. What is the common name for Angelonia? Donald.
Is it maple?
No. Annie.
Polly?
No. I'll give you a hint. It's summer something is the common name for Angelonia. Dog.
Snapdragon.
Yes, Angelonia goes by Summer Snapdragon. You are correct again, Dog. You get 3/4 of a point because I had to give you a hint. All right, episode 17 for question number 7. What is the first tuberous staple crop discussed that night in episode 17? Donald.
I'm going with potatoes.
Potatoes is a very good and correct guess. Yes, made that one a little bit easy with throwing the tuberous, but you get a point either way. All right, question 8, episode 17. What bulb was recommended you plant in the fall? Go. Ultra, you've had your hand up for a while. So I'm going to go with you to see if you got this, and then we'll go to Annie.
Well, I'm pouting because he took my potato answer, but I'm going to say tulips. I have no idea.
That would have been a good guess, except episode 17 was about staple crops, and we're not eating our tulips.
What?
So I'm going to go to Annie.
Speak for yourself, mister.
Hello. Would that be my garlic bulbs that I put in the winter, in the fall and the winter?
That would be correct, Annie. Garlic. It is recommended you plant those in the fall and then harvest the following summer. So Annie gets a point on that one. And we're chugging right along. We are at question 9, episode 18. When we got rolling last week, I said in period 7, July and August, many blank and blank are reaching the end of their peak performance and may start showing signs of yellowing as we get into next month. What two plants did I mention? This was only last week, folks. Go. Annie.
Well, I would say just in my own particular area, tomato and those what are they called? Those zucchini leaves, those big leaves, and they fall over and that one.
No. Gen X.
Peas and lettuce?
No. So, okay, we'll go to Donald, and then I'll give some hints. Donald, any guesses?
Grains and legumes.
No. So, we're only flashing back 7 days. We were talking about continuous color in the yard all year, mostly talking about annuals and perennials, maybe some trees. Didn't talk about veggies. And there were two very common perennials. They're like, one's bulletproof and the other one you probably see on the side of the road. And sometimes at this point of the year, they start to get tired and turn yellow. I'm going to go to Dog and then Jen. Dog, what do you got?
Okay, so hosta and that's the bulletproof one, and sage.
No. Gen X.
Daylilies for the side of the road, and I don't know what else.
Well, I'm going to give a half a point to Dog and a half a point to Gen X because the correct answer was hosta and daylilies.
I can't hear X, just for the record.
What's that?
Gen X, I can't hear. I can hear everybody else, but I can't hear Gen X.
Okay, drop down and Webb will bring you back up.
Okay, I'm leaving.
While Donald is dropping down and coming back up to clear up his audio, yes, last week, just 7 short days ago, I said, quote, in period 7, July/August, many hosta and daylilies are reaching the end of their peak performance and may start showing some signs of yellowing as we go into next month. So see that you got like the total rewind on that one. All right, so we should have Donald back momentarily, and now we are on to question number 10, episode 18. Oh, that's last week again.
5 by 5 here.
Roger that. 10-4. Last week in Gardener's Community, Webmeister confessed he forgot to do what to his newly planted window box? Go. Dog.
He killed them. He suffocated them to death with water. He forgot to drill holes in the bottom of the pot. He murdered all those plants. I think he did it on purpose too.
I don't know if it was that gory and dramatic, but yes, he forgot to drill holes in his window box and they filled up with water. So Dog with another point. Okay.
That's what I was going to guess too. Do I get a point?
You get I'm thinking about a point, but I don't think it'll come into fruition. Kind of like your correct answer didn't come out. So no. Anyways, question 11, episode 18. That's just last week. Come on. Okay, you guys got to start taking notes. You got to go in the Punchbowl merch store and buy a notebook or something. Name one of 2 annual grasses that I mentioned. Annual grasses, I mentioned them last week when we were talking about continuous color for all year. We will go over to Annie.
Oh, I was just going to say fescue, but I guess that's just a variety.
Fescue is incorrect. Dog.
Silvergrass and fountain grass, ornamental grasses.
No, both of those are fairly hardy perennials.
BC
I'm
Kush
looking.
and what's that other stuff? I can't remember what the other one was.
Okay, let's let Donald settle down.
I can't remember.
The,
Yes,
I wonder why you can't remember. The two grasses mentioned last week, annual grasses, both very colorful. You see them as early as spring, and there'll be plumes in the fall. Very colorful grasses. We've actually talked about them in other episodes where if you get into July and they're getting overgrown, you can cut them back and they'll fill back out and they'll plume. And they are not types of grass that you smoke. So with that in
that's right.
mind, Annie,
Well, there's one that's really pretty, a lupin blue bonnet.
which is not a grass. Gen
Oh,
X,
darn. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Gen X,
Fescue?
nope. Dog,
Red fountain grass and fireworks fountain grass.
you are correct. Pennisetum rubrum and Pennisetum fireworks are two varieties of annual grasses. You will see them anywhere from 4-inch pots to 10-inch pots at your garden center. People use them kind of early on, but this time of year, very popular in summer and fall plantings. The rubrum, particularly, will get 3 to 4 feet tall. Nice, rich, red, burgundy, deep grass, and then it'll get plumes on them. Webmeister.
How do you remember all these names? I barely remember my own children's names.
I'm with you on that one.
It takes practice, and I still struggle with their birthdays. Oh, the plants. Yeah. So I remember. I knew what you were saying. I remember my children's names and their birthdays and all that fun stuff. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like Spanish. I at one point I was starting to get fluent, and then switched jobs, and so I didn't use it quite as often. It's one of those things: use it or lose it. So, but we've talked about this in the past. Trying to learn some of those Latin names is a good habit to get into because I spent like 20 minutes putting you all to sleep with my story about getting the wrong Japanese maple tree last week. So I'm not going to do that again. But if you know the Latin name, you will avoid problems. Okay. Dog is in the lead as always. So rest of you catch up. Question number 12. In episode 4, I named plants that share its name with totally different plants, creating confusion if not for scientific names. One plant was being referred to by a common name, one by a genus name. Name 2 of these confusing plant scenarios. This ought to be fun. Donald.
Okay, so one scenario was about wart, WORT, and it basically meant a bunch of different plants all under the same kind of heading. And I can't remember what the other one was. So would I get half points for that?
You get no points for that because I'm talking about episode 4 and genus versus common names, not what the suffix wort means. So, unfortunately, Donald, you do not get any points this time. But I'm glad that you join the gardening show every week now. So, episode 4, I don't think you were here for it. So, no shame on you, Dog.
I'm going to go with cannabis because it's very confusing whether you're getting sativa or indica.
Hooyah!
You know, I don't know why this conversation just keeps turning back to that. But no. Anyone else? Okay. So, you know that this is going to come back to haunt you because nobody got it. But I have beat these to death in multiple episodes, not just episode 4.
Fungus.
No. Donald, behave. So in episode 4,
I don't want to be beat to death.
I beat the subjects to death, not the listening audience. Okay. Stay with me, Donald. Stay with me. Stay with me, young man. Okay, so in episode 4, I talked about how you need to know scientific names because otherwise things get confusing and you ask for one thing, you get another thing, and this thing can actually mean that thing. Okay, so let me just give you a few examples because I'm going to ask this again in the future and I want someone to get some points. So the first would be vinca versus vinca. We talked about one is a perennial, a creeping perennial with blue flowers. Dog, the ship has sailed. So
Wait. Is one of them cannabis?
no, cannabis is not in. I'm going to give you guys a huge hint. Okay, cannabis is not in any of the trivia questions tonight. Sorry. So I'm sorry. I put that to rest now. Cannabis will not be featured tonight.
It's in a few of the answers, though. I'll tell you that for sure.
It's actually not. Webb?
Mary Jane?
Are you all stoned? I'm trying to teach you something. Listen. Shh. Okay. Settle down, class. Settle down. Okay. This question is going to come up in the future, so you're going to want to pay attention. So put down the doobies or the bongs or whatever it is you got going on over there and listen. One example would be vinca versus vinca. If you ask for a vinca, is somebody going to give you a Catharanthus roseus that Webmeister Googled that's got the pretty pink flowers, or are you going to get a vinca that's creeping? It's a ground cover, it's a perennial, and it's got little blue flowers. So that's one example. Now, vinca, here's a third example with the name vinca. Vinca is also called creeping myrtle. Well, guess what? Myrtle is also a plant. It's a Mediterranean bush. Sometimes you'll see them at fancy florist shops as a topiary tree.
I don't want no Myrtle, okay? My auntie was named Myrtle, and that's just creepy.
Okay, well, I'm almost done with myrtle, so don't be too creeped out. Myrtus communis is the Mediterranean shrub. So there you have a myrtle that's actually myrtle. You have vinca that's called myrtle, and you have Catharanthus that's called vinca. Just a few examples on that. And the last example is geranium versus geranium. You have geranium that's a perennial, that's the genus, and then you have geranium that is those little red, white, or pink flowering annuals that you plant at the cemetery. The genus is actually Pelargonium. So the Pelargonium is called the geranium as a common name, but geranium is also a genus as a perennial. Try to retain some of that because I will probably ask that in the next episode.
Which one smells?
I would say the Pelargonium is probably the most fragrant. That's also where you get citronella plants and scented geraniums. They're in that Pelargonium genus.
So Stinky Pelly and Creepy Myrtle. Gotcha.
You're sure to get like 1/10 of a point with that, Donald. Okay, question 13. In our medicinal plants episode, we talked about another plant that begins with the letter A, Anethum graveolens. What is the common name of that plant? Go. Annie?
Dandelion.
No. But now I'm starting to wonder, Annie, because last week I had a question with a different scientific name and you guessed dandelion and you were correct. So now I'm starting to wonder if you say dandelion anytime. All right.
I just love dandelions. They're so good for you. The root, every part of that plant is very, very medicinal and very good for you. Thank you.
No, thank you. Webmeister, you got a guess on this one?
Advil?
Rhymes with dog.
Dill.
Dill is correct. Well, Advil, dill, sort of rhymes. Yes, anathema graveolens is dill. And anathem was the genus that begins with A, and we're on the letter A today. Webb.
I was just wondering, I keep doing the bell. Dog, is this working for you? I'm thinking Pavlov here.
I'm drooling, dude. Can you cut it out? My shirt's all wet.
Such a good boy. Question 14. When is our next episode of the Nelson Gardens Garden and Homecast, and what number will it be? Look at your calendars, folks. Dog.
The 15th, and it'll be episode 20 because you have a hot date with the wife.
You are correct. That is correct. And I'm not going to say any more on that, just in case something else pops up in the trivia questions I don't remember. But yes, August 15th, episode 20 is our next time back here. Question number 15. What is the name of the new segment between the presentation and trivia portions of Garden and Homecast? Go. Webmeister.
Gardening community.
No. Dog.
Community talk.
No. Annie. Annie.
Oh yes, the Nelson Gardens Garden and Homecast. Bring your A game.
No. That's the name of the show. Webmeister again.
Hermaphroplant.
Zerbitz. No.
You're a
Donald.
hermaphrodite.
Gnomish Corner. If it ain't gnomish, it's nothing.
No.
You can use that if you want, though.
No, I prefer the phrase, if you're not Dutch, you're not much. We're going to go to Ultra for one more guess. And I will say, just as a hint, Webb was close with his original answer, not hermaphroplant, though. Ultra.
Well, I thought it was something like gardening community. So, wasn't that what it was? I'm dying of a head cold here, so I'm guessing.
Which is what Webb said, and he was so close. It was gardeners community.
That's what I said.
No, you didn't. You're gardening.
I was thinking it.
Well, I couldn't give Donald points for thinking his, so I can't give you points. All right, Donald, put the hand down. I didn't ask the question yet. If
Sorry.
Okay. Stand by. Loading question 16 in 3, 2, 1. Question 16, episode 5. At the end of the presentation, I mentioned cutting back petunias by 1/4 to 1/3 to clean them up and stimulate new growth for the remainder of the season. When did I suggest you do this? I have two very early hands. I'm going to go to Ultra first.
You suggested to do that when, as soon as they start dying off.
I cannot accept that. Webmeister, then Dog, then Annie.
I just raised my hand because Ultra was cheating, so I thought I'd get mine in there too.
Not a bad plan at all. Dog.
Before yesterday, July 31st.
No, that time frame came in for other things, but looking for a specific answer on cutting back the petunias. Annie, then Donald.
Well, I cut back my petunias when I don't see any more flowering, and that's usually around the end of summer.
I cannot accept that. Remember, when I ask these questions,
He gives a bit of an answer in the question. When to promote growth, which would be in the spring. I think in April, wherever spring is in your area.
no. So,
Damn.
remember when I
What was that?
asked, okay, settle down. Settle down. Don't make Webb mute you. because I'm holding the papers and I don't want to have to do it with my thumb. So when I ask these questions from a particular episode, I'm getting very specific. So if you go back to that episode and listen to the recording, you'll actually hear a specific time that I said to do this. So I have to be very specific in what answers I allow, because I gave you a certain time and I can't contradict myself. So in this case, I had mentioned that the first week of July is a great time to cut those petunias back. I don't know if I mentioned that you should probably wait if you got people coming over for the 4th of July to party. Maybe wait till they go home and do it. But the first week of July is a good time to give them one more haircut, and then they will flush out, and you'll get those for the rest of the July into August and possibly September. And that just stimulates the growth, cleans them up a bit. And with that, I will go to Webmeister.
The first week of July.
Yes, that is correct. Ding, ding.
Way to go, Webmeister.
I got a point. Wait, hint, right?
I hope it's not my reception that made it difficult to hear you, or we're going to be in trouble tonight. Can everybody hear me? I get the thumbs up. We are good to go. Okay, another repeat question from last week. Remember, I'm going to abuse you with these questions until you remember them, because we're trying to learn. In each episode 13 and 14, I talked about a species of Ocimum, the second of which was Ocimum tenuiflorum. Ocimum is the genus for what common plant? Go, dog.
Basil, right?
Basil is correct.
Woo!
I think you got it last week too. One of these days, somebody else is going to throw their hand up and say basil, and the other one is
awesome. That's
Ocimum basilicum.
Basil is awesome. Basil is awesome.
Yes,
Everything is awesome.
and I did use that joke last week, Donald. So it's scary.
Is it weird that I remember the cheesy joke, but not what the hell you were talking about?
That's not weird at all. That seems to be commonplace in this space, and that's fine. But my goal is that if you have a love of gardening, you will remember this stuff. So I'm just going to keep throwing it at you till it sticks to the wall like spaghetti in a food fight. All right. Episode 18. No, sorry. I did it again. Question 18. Episode 5. Deep breath. Annuals versus perennials. Which one is most often cheaper and easier to grow with more and longer lasting flowering? Webmeister.
Perennials. I know annuals. I mean the ones that have to be planted every year.
I was going to say annuals.
I was going to say annuals. You jumped in there.
That's what I was going to say. Except for they're more work because you have to plant them every year. So I disagree with that question.
A little favoritism here.
Annuals. I say annuals. Perennials? No, annuals.
Quarter of a point to each of them.
Thank you, Webmeister.
Actually, we don't have enough points to give a quarter to everybody. According to my math, you get 1/5 of a point because 5 people have all said annuals after Webb said perennials and changed his mind. So you get 20% or 1/5 of a point each. Don't say I didn't give you anything. Question.
Government program?
Well, the government program, I would give you 1/19 of a point. And no, I'm not going there. Okay. Question 19.
But you would take 5 times of what you gave out to everybody if you were government.
And annually, not just perennially.
Are we good? Okay. Focus, people. I don't, there's so many rabbit holes that come up, and I'm trying to avoid going down them because we're almost done.
It's because we're in the garden. There's rabbits in the garden.
We are 19 minutes late, sir. we were shooting for an hour. Stay with me. We got 2 more questions to go. So get the points, and then we can all get out of here. And you can all smoke that stuff you keep using as your answers. Okay. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Okay. Question 19, episode 6, Armageddon Part 1. Who was my co-host, and what Punchbowl product did he put together and offer recently? Go.
Oh, I forgot to put my hand up. There.
You better get this correct, Webmeister.
The real Jeff Platt and a Punchbowl cookbook.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes, that is correct. My co-host for the Armageddon series, which was part 1 and 2, or as Bishop came up with the alternate name, Farmageddon. Too bad he didn't come up with that before I did those 2 episodes, because that would have been a better sounding name. But yes, Jeff Platt was my co-host for both episodes, episode 6 and 7, and he just put out a Punchbowl cookbook. So if you go to his merch shop on thepunchbowl.space, you can get the cookbook and a bingo card. So when you go into Town Square with Bishop and the Jeffs, you can listen for certain phrases that get said during the morning, and you can mark off your bingo card, and then you can unmute yourself and say bingo. And anybody that doesn't know what the heck you're talking about is going to be like, are they okay? Are they going to get booted from the room for doing that? But all the Punchbowl people are going to be like, yeah, that's awesome. They were playing on the new bingo card. So, yeah. Okay. We got 1 question left. Besides X, formerly known as Twitter, name 2 other platforms where you can hear previous episodes of Town Square and Garden and Homecast. Jeff G.
Rumble and Spotify.
Jeff G comes in out of nowhere and steals the point. That is right. We are on X Spaces, as I guess we're calling them these days, but we're also on Spotify and Rumble. And thanks to our IT genius, we may at this very moment be streaming live on Rumble right now. So if y'all wanted to be famous, guess what? The whole world's hearing you and all your silly answers. Dog?
That wasn't gardening related. Was that a shameless plug?
It was related to the show.
Don't hate on my point.
Well, I mean, I guess it would be. I guess it would be a shameless plug. It's not a shameful plug. I'm not ashamed to plug this show or Town Square. My Punchbowl friends and teammates. All right. Well, we made it through. I'm going to go to Webmeister and then wrap this puppy up.
I just wanted to punish Dog for that. You might need to change your shirt, Dog.
No, just rolling some dirt. I'll be fine. I'll just clean up that way.
Such a good boy. All right. Well, I do appreciate that little interjection. Gave me a chance to sip a little bit of my coffee and maybe get through this last minute without cracking up like a 13-year-old. Okay. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, yes, we are here almost every Tuesday night, but as someone alluded to, I believe it was Dog, next week, August 8th, there will be no Garden and Homecast. Aww. As I'll be celebrating my 14-year wedding anniversary. Aww. August 15th at 7:30 p.m. will be when we meet back here for the new monthly installment of Continuous Color for All Year, when we will focus on Color Period 8, August/September, with a brief review of the latter half of Color Period 7, which we discussed in episode 18. So just a quick reminder, we're going to do that every other episode. And of course, with no episode next Tuesday, we we move on to that following Tuesday, and then it'll skip a week, and we will do that. Actually, I take that back. We're going to do that with the letters of the alphabet. So on the 15th, we're going to go back to the continuous color, and once a month, we are going to do what you can have in color for that month, or what you should be planting, like when we're in September, but you want something for April. We'll talk about what's in color in September, but also what, to plant those bulbs, because we're in that month to do it. So that'll be a once a month thing. The every other week thing for 26 weeks, this was the first installment, will be the letters of the alphabet. I will take what we did tonight, and that'll help me plan how much we can fit in terms of numbers of plants. I'm going to try to do a few annuals, few perennials, possibly a few tropical houseplants and trees or shrubs. I meant to do azaleas tonight as a shrub in the A category, and I didn't. But maybe when we talk about when those are blooming, we'll talk more about azaleas. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me. Catch Bishop and the Jeffs tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Pacific?
in Eastern.
Eastern. That's like what mountain?
So basically, don't go to bed tonight, Donald.
And I should make it for Punchbowl? Maybe?
And you should.
If I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I should maybe make it.
What better way to start your day?
Then
Everybody
cranky
starts
at 5
with,
o'clock in the morning. Yeah, they'll love me at the Punchbowl. Much as I love hugging trees. That's what I was going to say. Like, get out there and hug a tree today. There's lots around. They need it.
Yes. And I know that Bishop will be happy to see you with bells on bright and early at 8 a.m. Eastern in Town Square. So with that, I'm not going to drag it out any further. Thank you, Webmeister from Control Room 2 in an undisclosed location, for being that beautiful broccoli with the laser-focused eyes, always there as my co-host, and the rest of the Punchbowl crew that made it in the room tonight. I see Jeff G, I see Bishop, I see Tap, I see Jeff. Don't forget to go to Jeff's store, get that cookbook and bingo card. And I see the Punchbowl TM account. That's our host account. That's down there. Further down, you'll see the Punchbowl logo. I created that. Thank you. Pat on the back for me. You can follow that account and you'll never miss a notification. But follow everybody and make sure you go to that website, go to the Discord, find us on Spotify, find us on Rumble, and find me back here August